What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and what happened with this game when it comes to the Game Awards, why it wasn't there, and when we could possibly see it, and of course what's going on with Nintendo. When could we hear about some other stuff happening? When's the next Nintendo Direct? There's a lot of stuff to address, especially after the no-show for the most part when it comes to Nintendo at the Game Awards 2021, where they had ads and they had Doug Bowser there and they had nominees, but they didn't bring the sauce like they usually bring, or at least like they've brought in previous years. But before we get into anything, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first, and of course all things JRPGs, and of course that goodness that is Xenoblade. So let's go ahead and start off here. Before the Game Awards 2021, there were some rumors kind of floating around, some hype and anticipation, and even to the point where it was trending on Twitter with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, where fans felt that Nintendo could talk about the game. Now, at previous Game Awards, we have got some RPG or Japanese games there announced from Nintendo. Bayonetta, we've gotten that before. We got stuff like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which was developed by Koei Tecmo, which Nintendo did publish as an exclusive. We got stuff like Bravely Default 2, so many felt that it was possible that we could get the game. Also, good friend of the channel as well, Nate Drake from Direct Feed Games, Nate the Hate, also stated that there could be some Xenoblade action at the Game Awards 2021. However, we all sat through the 3.5-hour show or so, and there was no Xenoblade and there was no Nintendo really at all when it comes to big announcements, and I think a lot of people were a little bit upset. Now, in my own predictions, I didn't think that Xenoblade would be there. I always felt when people asked me questions that, yeah, it was possible that Xenoblade 3 could be there, but I wasn't so sure because Xenoblade, to me, just feels like a Nintendo Direct type of thing. It feels like Nintendo would want to announce it, kind of give it its own spotlight, its own time, kind of end the Nintendo Direct on that announcement, because that's for like the pinnacle, the core Nintendo fans out there. Obviously, Xenoblade isn't the biggest Nintendo franchise, not even close to being the biggest, but it still is a multi-million seller that's been picking up steam, especially with Pyra and Mythra included into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate this year. So I do feel that there is momentum for the franchise. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition over 1.5 million units sold. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 over 2 million units sold. So those are really good sales numbers for the budget and the style that Xenoblade is. So I am happy with that. But what's going on with the franchise? What could we see going forward, and how is Nintendo going to execute this? Now, when it comes to a Nintendo Direct and when we could see that, Nintendo usually has their Nintendo Directs, the big ones. They might have like a mini like in January or February. I know that in years past they've had minis in January, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think Nintendo's probably going to do something else for the rest of this year or early next year. Maybe we'll see an Indie World or something like that. I'm not really sure what they'll do, but I don't think it's going to be a Nintendo Direct Mini. I just think that they're going to do something else when it comes to it. I know there's games that developers probably want to show off with Nintendo, whether they're bigger games or smaller games. So I think they'll just do something else with that. I feel that we're going to get the next Nintendo Direct and Xenoblade information probably in the spring Direct, which would be sometime between like March and May. Usually though, it's between like March and April. They have it sometime then, but I'd target a March for that. And I think that they would announce it. And here's what I think that they want to do with Xenoblade going forward. I don't think they want a lot of time in between a Xenoblade release. And I think that's the smartest thing to do with Xenoblade. You want to kind of like get the lightning in a bottle. You want to announce it, get people hyped, have pre-orders or whatever the case ready, know what you want to do, know when it's launching, and then launch it within probably a 6 to 8 month period after that. I think Nintendo was even a little bit uncomfortable with announcing Xenoblade in January when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and then it releasing all the way in December. I think that they kind of struggled to maintain the momentum and keep people interested in the game, and I feel that ultimately it ended up being a little bit too long, especially when you had a bunch of big releases in between it, from like ARMS and Splatoon and Mario Odyssey and Fire Emblem and Mario plus Rabbids. I mean, there was just like a bunch of games in between that initial announcement and then the release as the final first party game of the year. And I think that that might of halted sales a little bit at the beginning. I think that Nintendo wants to kind of just strike really quick when it comes to Xenoblade, almost like an astral chain type of situation where you announce the game, then very shortly it's coming out afterwards. So I'm guessing that Nintendo would do a March announcement and then it comes out at the end of the year sometime. That would be my guess for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, we do have rumors, which I went over before, but for those that are new, we've had a lot of new subscribers to the channel, so thank you guys so much for subscribing. So the rumors so far with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is that it's going to take place a number of years, really far into the future after Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and there might be some returning characters. And what it's going to do with this game is that it's probably going to be a game that falls more in line with Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, more so than Xenoblade Chronicles X. So just keep that in mind. Now, not necessarily the battle system and all that, and I don't believe, even with the rumor that is out there, which I'll have a link for you guys as well in the description, but I don't believe the battle system is going to be completely like Xenoblade Chronicles X or Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or Torn of the Golden Country. I think that they're going to pretty much revolutionize and make a whole different style of game. I feel that Monolith Soft has been hard at work on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for quite a number of years, and whatever we do get from them is going to be a departure from what we've seen before, even though it does have the Xenoblade name. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to upend the T table and completely change things around when it comes to the overall feel of what Xenoblade is. Like, you're still going to be able to see certain things and identify that if it's like Xenoblade, but at the same time, I don't feel that they're going to follow exactly the same cues with the auto battling and with everything that they've done before. I just feel that it's going to be a little bit different based off of the time that it's been taking to get this game out, and just based off of them probably wanting to take the next step with this type of game. Now, there is also rumors that this is going to be the most impressive when it comes to a graphical scope that Nintendo has done with Xenoblade. So the Xenoblade games, for the most part, while, you know, they try their best, obviously they're not the best graphically when it comes to the open world or the open-ended graphics and everything. I mean, still very nice art style, and I think that the geography of the layouts, Monolith Soft is an expert when it comes to that type of stuff. So they can do more with less than what most developers can do. They can still make a really huge, nice looking game, but obviously like the resolution hasn't been as good in the past when it comes to certain titles, and there's just been some rough areas here and there when it comes to the performance of the game. It seems like this game, based on the rumors, is not going to suffer from that, as Monolith Soft has moved over to their new engine that they are implementing in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country, and which should be finished and completed and used for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So I do feel that it is going to be a much better looking game, and it's going to be a much better performing game than what we've seen from Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition, and also Xenoblade Chronicles 2 or Torn of the Golden Country, and even Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Nintendo Switch. And if you want my thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles X, I have a multitude of videos that I have uploaded within the past few weeks. So if you guys want to hear what I think about that, if you're new, it's on the channel. Just check it out there. But long story short, watch the video. But yeah, I think Xenoblade Chronicles X is a possibility, but I talk more about it then in those videos. But back to what we're talking about here with Xenoblade Chronicles. I think that this is really their time with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to see if they can capture that larger audience, that 3 million units plus. And if they do what I've talked about before, which I'll go over here in this video, when it comes to modernizing the Xenoblade formula and combat, I think that they can achieve something even bigger and better. Now, one cool thing about Xenoblade is that they have like the arts and skill palettes. You can still keep all of those, and you can still keep what made Xenoblade Chronicles 1 really cool, which is where you can move and do the arts at the same time and everything. But I do feel that one thing definitely needs to be removed, or at least optional, when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles, and that is the auto battling. I think that that creates somewhat of a disconnect for the casual consumer out there, and I feel that Monolith Soft might remove that and make it to where you actually press a button, it's context sensitive, and then you do the attack, and then you can use a combination of a button, or you can just kind of have like a quick swap to where you can do arts or you can do special attacks from there, almost like a Tales of Arise or something like that. However, if they did include the option to also keep your auto battling and keep whatever fans like from there, I think that would probably be the best way about it, because when I talked about them removing some of those things in order to make Xenoblade a bit more accessible for some people and everything, some fans were like, no, I don't want them to change anything, it needs to be the exact same. but I think that if you keep things the exact same, then there's never any room for growth or for more people to get in. So it's really more about keeping the essence and flow of what makes Xenoblade, but at the same time evolving and making things better and trying new things in order to innovate. We're never going to get anything new if they don't try new things or innovate. So for example, we would have never gotten Xenoblade Chronicles X if they didn't say, hey, let's try something new with these mechs and how you can get inside of them. And we would have never got something new with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torn of the Golden Country with the whole Vanguard system and swapping in and out if they didn't try something new, because that's very different from any other Xenoblade Chronicles game. So I think that trying new things, trying out different stuff, improving battle flow or improving battle features is always something that they can test out. So we'll see if they do that. And I feel that if they do that, then they do have an opportunity to actually reach a lot more people than they would have reached, because people do like that context sensitive type of battling with console based RPGs. I feel that that style with the auto battling, especially with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 where you can't move and it's auto battling, that creates a little bit of like a automation process for a lot of gamers where they're just like, I'm not so sure about that. They want to have a bit more control of their character, especially if you can move in the first place. It's not a strictly turn-based RPG. I think that that's why sometimes you get a little bit more of a positive outlook when it comes to how people feel about the combat when it comes to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 over Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And Xenoblade Chronicles X, of course, you can also move and attack at the same time as well as you're positioning yourself, because based on where you're positioned, there is different types of skills that get you buffs or get you better advantages over the enemy where you're positioned. So it makes sense to be able to move and attack at the same time. So I'm hoping that they do add that back in, because I think that would be a big boost to the game as well, along with what I talked about when it comes to actually having the option to press the context sensitive buttons and to use the attacks as you see fit there. So I think that there is a lot of good areas and options that Xenoblade Chronicles is going to evolve and get better. When Xenoblade Chronicles 3 does finally get announced, I can't wait to see what they have for us, because Monolith Soft, they are master storytellers. They are masters at making open-ended and open world games. And I think that actually having the first Xenoblade game specifically made for the Nintendo Switch and it being just for that system is going to be a big benefit for them. Whereas with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, those were based off of older systems for Nintendo with the Wii and the Wii U. And now with this one, this is just the Switch, where they can focus just on that, and they have their new engine. So it should be very interesting to see exactly what they come up with. So what are your thoughts on Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and what is going on here? When do you expect Nintendo will talk about this game? Do you feel it'll be at an early Nintendo Direct in 2022? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.